So hello, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Glad to be here.
Mr. Monty Draper.
Yes, absolutely.
Lord have mercy on the ones still catching Z's. Praying we stay grounded while we're boarding overseas. So Juvie and Manny feel like 400 degrees. Gotta run with wolves if you gon' protect the sheep. That makes sense to me. Break that down to a science. The blind leading the hopeless, both of them searching for signs.
So you're from Richmond?
I am.
So being from Richmond, I was gonna dive right in. I know you're from Richmond, so I wanted to know, like, first off, how does being from Richmond influence your music?
The Bay as a whole is a melting pot, but when you get down to Richmond, like, and we're sort of the forgotten city, you know, with the mainstream media or whatever. But for the most part, a lot of people from Richmond have southern roots. So like, I know my family does especially, and so I got a lot of influence, like soul and gospel. Like, that's where it all starts. And then once you're able to translate that into what we do, it gives you a one-up, you know, and allows you to figure out what your lane is and make something unique to you and the city.
That's awesome. So you're saying that was saying like your music has like a southern vibe to it?
Not even a southern part, because I get that would kind of get lost in like the more what we know as trap now, but it's like what we love Outkast for and 8 Balls and Big G, that those heavy like bass lines and Scarface and like actual bass lines and pianos and stuff like that, actual instruments, and that's sort of what I mean when I say like the southern sound. That's just bringing church gospel to hip hop. You know?
Right, creating something different.
Absolutely.
Not just saying like everyone else. Not the norm, right?
Exactly.
So who are some of the artists that influence you? Who do you look up to?
My parents are relatively young. I think we're all in that phase now where we're getting older. My parents influence us. Like literally, my dad was dropping me off to school listening to Public Enemy. So some of my earliest memories are like the Bomb Squad, like heavy drums, just like, what is this? Like, obviously the subject matter doesn't make sense then, but as you grow older, you go, oh damn, it had an impact on me. My mom, I just was telling this story the other day. Me and my cousin in the backseat arguing about the best rappers, and Snoop was the biggest thing at the time, so Snoop was my dude. And my mom's in the front seat giggling. I'm like, what you laughing about? You don't know nothing about rap. And she goes, LL is the hardest ever. And I'm like, bro, at this time LL was doing straight love songs. Like, they talk about Drake, but LL was that first. And I'm like, no way, he's making love songs. And so I go to school, come home the next day, and on my pillow is Walking with a Panther and some other LL record. But that Walking with a Panther, I played that into the tape, bro, because I didn't know he could rap like that. I had no idea.
Like, wait a minute.
And it blew my mind. And I got my mom and my dad and their siblings equally are like my biggest influences of what they were listening to. I think my dad's sisters are like 10 years older than me, so like Farside and Tribe and De La, like that. My auntie put me on this, so I got a heavy dose.
So you got a lot of family influence.
Oh yeah.
That's really cool though. You don't hear that, too often.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. What is your experience working with Matthew Roots? I think that's pretty amazing.
I wish it was something more extensive, but it was like one of the first big shows we got called for in the valley up in Southern Oregon. They needed a bigger group to open for them, and we were there. They gave us a nod for it, and we got to open for them. It was an amazing night. Like, we packed out one of the bigger venues in Ashland, so it was like really good guys that came through and showed love. We hung out, and that was really it. You know?
That's great. Yeah. So who is LMA, and what influence did she have on your life?
Oh man, that's my grandmother. That's my dad's mom. She passed like 6 months before I did that record, and it was, you know how you want to be sad, you're supposed to be sad, but because she was from the South and the way they did funerals is a celebration, you celebrate that person's life. And I remember like a lot of her friends passing, and my grandma was like, hey, you about to cry, like, we're going to do it. So I thought about her when she passed, like being at her funeral and like trying to be sad about it didn't work. It was like she would have wanted me to work harder and to be inspired versus like doing the opposite, which is what most people do, become depressed and sad and all that stuff. So we just literally flipped that and made this, what we think is an amazing record, and what turned out to be a really, really good door opener for us. You know, so.
That's a great outlet for that. I mean, it really is. So would you consider yourself more of a conscious rapper or more of a storyteller?
That conscious term, it only bothers me because there's such a negative connotation with it sometimes, you know, like like you don't want money, like you're not like, no, we're definitely trying to get paid. We need resources and stuff.
It's a business.
Exactly, you know, and so it's like, now just more of a storyteller, but a person, you know, like I might feel one way, I might want to do some uplifting shit or excuse my language, but and then the next day I might want to be like, you know what, F that, you know, we're humans, we should be allowed to have all those emotions and then go into a studio and record them too.
You just want to be free with it.
That's it.
You might as well, right? That's what I'm talking about. So you perform with live bands, right?
All the time.
So how's that experience?
It's amazing because it adds another element that allows you to get lost from the show. You know, and it allows you to give a new experience every night because you can rehearse all you want to, but things happen on stage where you have to improvise, and it's like doing a new song every night. Regardless of how many times you've done it, how many times you've rehearsed it, something happens where you gotta improvise and you gotta be in sync, and it's a different level of human communication.
Yeah,
because you don't get to stop and go. You gotta like be looking at people. It's a lot of non-verbal communication that happens on stage.
So do you play any instruments?
I've been taking piano lessons for 2.5 years now, studying music theory as well, and pretty happy to say I kind of get it. Now I want to give the piano a little bit more attention before I move on to something else, but just figuring out like root notes and so I can move the bass and all that stuff too.
So we'll see you on stage playing the piano soon?
Eventually, I do plan to, like one of my records, I do plan to be on stage playing the piano and rapping for sure. I do, that's one of my goals for sure.
That is amazing. So I know you said that you've worked with Nappy Roots, but who are some other names that you've worked with over the years?
So probably the biggest nod, or by far the biggest nod, has been I Am Sue. Just what he's done for the Bay, and like the nod that he gave me when I first came back from college. Like he hopped on my first project with no hesitation, and then had the nerve to put me on his Kill 2 album with the great Terrace Martin, and that's probably one of the biggest nods for sure. Uncle Theotis Ely from the Bay, but in Atlanta now, mentored Dwayne Wiggins and Raphael Sadiq. He actually played on my first project too. That's probably those are
I feel like these are humbling experiences for you. It would be for me. It definitely would be for me.
Yeah, the Terrace Martin and I Am Sue thing was such a surprise because the song was one thing when we did it, and when the album got released, it said featuring Terrace Martin and Monty Draper, and I was like, wait, I'm on the song with Terrace Martin. And he does a horn solo on it that's impeccable, so that's for sure.
That's awesome. I see how you smile. It's good. So tell me about a recent article you had that was in the newspaper.
Oh my goodness, yeah. SF Weekly, they released the first single off our new project coming out last Friday. Old Money, actually produced by I Am Sue and Ian McKee of Pacifica. We all got together and did this amazing record that almost didn't make the album and released it, and people loved it. We're rocking now.
So I know we were talking earlier, you have your label called Brave Area. So I know you said it was going slow, but it seems like it's been really picking up for you and taking off. You know, and what message would you give to other artists who, you know, start off kind of slow and feel like no one's hearing them, no one's, you know, buying the music? What would you say to an upcoming artist who's getting discouraged?
Stay diligent. You know, I don't know how everybody else is, but I'm really heavy in my faith. The lessons that God provides us with, you know, it's for a reason. When it's not easy, it's just to make sure you want it that much more. It's not to deter you from doing it. Let's see how bad you know it. If I close this door for you, are you going to quit, or are you going to find another way in? That's how I think of it. And I won't say that I always had that outlook. There was some darker days when I absolutely wanted to quit, but I had a really good tribe, brave area, my family, my mother, my sisters, and people around me that wouldn't allow me to. Like, they believed in me so much that it was like, I can't do it, because they believed in me in those days when I was just like, yo, I'm through.
Right.
That's all I would suggest, to make sure you got good people around you that are going to keep it a buck with you, always keep it real with you, tell you when you're not working hard enough, and you can step it up, and you need to be in the gym, and you need to be practicing all those things, you know, and keep those people around you, because you'll never lose, and that's not just music, that's what everything's started to do and be, you know.
I like your attitude. That's a good outlook. I'm with you on that. I mean, I'm the same way. So, what is your latest project, and how many albums have you released?
We call it all, like the other ones are just like mixtapes and stuff like that, because we were just figuring out the business, but this will be the first official release. Last Marauder is what it's called, and the concept behind that is, again, with the faith, like, the whole, at least how I understand the gospel and the word as a whole, is just like we are supposed to be living in His image, you know, striving to be like Him. And I think a lot of us can become dependent upon waiting for someone else to do something for us, or the idea of prayer without application. You know, so many different levels to it. Like, you can pray, but then you got to go out and apply, you know. And so the Last Marauder is that, like, we are it. If we don't decide from this very moment to fight for us, no one else will. This could be it if we don't put up a fight, you know. And that's what that album was born out of. And we're finished. It went into mastering Friday, and we celebrated a little bit, and we're just waiting to get the masters back so we can fully
So
rock.
when can we look out for that, and where would we be able to find it?
Paperwork and all that stuff. I would hate to say a date, but it'll be before the year is over for sure. Because it's done, like done. So we just sit back.
So it'll be like a New Year's present.
Maybe even before that, maybe Christmas, maybe even Black Friday if y'all into that thing too. So,
That's awesome. So where would we be able to, do you have a Facebook? How would we be able to
yes,
contact you?
everything Monty Draper with Instagram, Free Monty, FR33, MANI.
So before we leave, tell me something that fans will be very surprised to know about you.
Surprised to know about me. How much time I spend with my grandparents, I think.
You got a big one? I got a big
Absolutely,
one too.
absolutely. We call her Gigi, but she's just like, she's the life, her and my grandfather. And I get a lot of my inspiration from them, so I try to spend as much time with them as possible. And everything is sort of centered around family. I don't know if that's something to be surprised about, but
I think that's a blessing.
it is.
People are surprised these days, but in reality it's a blessing. So I'm with you on that. Alright, so my last thing is, if you had to sum yourself up in one word as an artist, what word would that be?
Fearless.
Fearless.
Yeah, fearless for sure.
I dig it. Well, thank you so much for coming and gracing us with your presence. It was very nice